Hello and welcome back to the Cars.co.za Cape Town office. Now, is there such a thing as a reliable performance car? I think there might be, and I think this is it, the W204 Mercedes-Benz C63 AMG. Now, I think these cars are fantastic, and one of the reasons why is because this one is mine. So in this video, I'm going to share with you everything I've learned about how to buy this car. We're going to talk about common problems, how to test drive them. If that light comes on, walk away from the car. And we'll go into some parts pricing. Front brake discs, those are about 3.7 from Volkswagen. Those are 16.5 from Mercedes-Benz. Now, I'm not going to review the car. We'll do that in another video. But if you're hunting for one of these, I hope this how-to guide will help you. And of course, start your search on Cars.co.za. There's 18 of these right now and only 6 pre-facelifts. So better get moving. Power slide into the DMs. WhatsApp the dealer directly from our site. Less phone calls, less awkward. Now, fans of this car will remember that Mercedes-Benz released a performance pack, which upped the power. Then they released a 507 special edition, which really upped the power. But in this video, I'm going to be focusing on the standard C63, the one with 336 kilowatts or 457 horsepower, and the torque converter 7-speed automatic. But of course, there are no standard C63s. These things are amazing. It's not standard. Now, the W204 C63 was always a dream car of mine. It hasn't disappointed me in any way. I've loved owning it. I personally preferred the pre-facelift look of this car, so that's the one I went for. 2008 to 2011 was the model year, so I'm going to focus on that. I was looking for a low mileage example. I found this one with 65,000 Ks on the clock, full service history, and it was in amazing condition, and that's why I took the plunge. Now, some good news up front. The M156 engine, that's this engine code, is chain driven, not belt driven, and the chain should last the life of the engine, doesn't really need to be replaced. But as some of you car nerds will know, the pre-facelift model had one major potential issue, and that's the head bolts of this fantastic 6.2 litre V8 engine. Now, I've done pretty extensive research on this, and while there are no official figures, some suggest that it could have only affected about 2% of these engines. Now, let's say that number is 5 times that. Let's say it's 10 times that. The chances of this problem happening to you are less than the chances of it happening. All that being said, you want to avoid this problem because it is an expensive problem. Now, what would happen is the head bolts would corrode, the head would sort of warp and lift a little bit, it would let coolant into the cylinders, and the engine would start burning coolant. And this could be pretty catastrophic for the engine. Now, unless there is a leak, the engine should not be lacking any coolant. So when you go on the test drive, you need to look out for the coolant low warning light. If that light comes on, I think I would walk away from the car. If you don't see the coolant light, the other way to detect this problem is to look out for white smoke from the exhaust. So get the car nice and warm, give it a couple of revs, and look out for that white smoke. Now, these cars were not known for any ring issues, so it probably won't be oil smoke. And a telltale sign for coolant smoke is a slightly sweet smell. And again, if you do see this and you do get that slightly sweet smell, you should probably walk away from the car. Now, Mercedes did fix this problem. The head bolt upgrade happened sometime in 2011. So if you want to know if your engine might have this issue or if you're safe, then you need to run the VIN of the car and get the engine number. And if your engine number is greater than 60658, then your engine is safe. One of the problems with this particular problem is that it can happen at almost any mileage. So you do need to do your best to detect it. Now, if you are concerned that your engine might be going in this direction, or if the car you're looking at, if you still want to go for the car, if you go to a good independent mechanic, you're looking at about 35,000 Rand to do this job. Now, I did phone a Mercedes dealer and ask for a quote. They haven't got back to me just yet, but I'm going to guess that it's quite a lot more than that. Now this next issue affects the high milers. At around the 150 to 160,000 K mark, the camshafts can fail due to wear on the cam lobe. So if you're looking at a car that's around like the 140 mark, you probably need to get this job done because it can be quite catastrophic for the engine. The other issue at this high mileage could be a cracked intake manifold. Now the good news is that both of these issues can be picked up by just trying to detect a lumpy or bumpy idle, just a bit of a rough idle. The engine should run very smoothly when it's warm. And the way I try and detect a rough idle is I let the engine get warm and I press very, very firmly on the brake pedal. And that lets me sort of feel if there's any undue vibrations or lumps or bumps coming through from the engine. I'm not sure this is very scientific, but it works for me. Now, annoyingly, the lumpy idle could just be plugs, which is obviously a very, very easy fix. But if you do detect anything wrong with the idle, potentially walk away from the car, because if you want to replace the intake manifold, you're looking at a part from Mercedes-Benz of 38,000 Rand. Into the interior, and there are very few problems to look for. The driver's seat bolster, that fades a bit, but that's very easy to replace. And one thing that can fail is the seat mechanism. So when you get in, make sure you move the seats around a lot and just make sure there's not any weird noises and that it's all working properly. The screen, which is quite fancy, there are no reported problems with that. And when you're shopping around, look for one, if you can, with a Harman Kardon sound system, because it was really, really good. And that brings us to the end of common problems that get reported with the C63. This really was a very well-made car that seems to last very well as well. However, they were driven pretty hard by their owners. So there are some things to look out for on the test drive, and I've got some advice for you about that. Now, the previous owner or owners probably enjoyed their car quite a lot. These cars are quite heavy, so there are a couple of wear and tear items that you need to look out for that might need to be repaired or replaced. You can pick these up on the test drive. Now, if you pick up a wobble and you're not braking, then it's likely that one of the wheels or more are buckled. This was quite a widely reported problem. Now, a good tire shop should be able to sort this out for you, but if it's very badly buckled, you might need to approach a specialist. If you feel a wobble under braking, then it is likely that the front discs are warped, and I'll give you some prices on replacement parts for that. If you notice that the car is a bit floatier than it should be, these cars actually handled really well and cornered pretty flat, then you might have to do the shocks. This is a problem you might see on some high miler examples, and I'll give you some pricing on that as well. If you get an oil warning, this should be of some concern. However, the M156 engine was designed to burn a little bit of oil, up to 0.8 of a liter per 1,000 kilometers, especially if it was driven at high engine speeds. So if you don't see any oil under the car and you don't see any sweat around any of the gaskets, it's possible you just need to top up the oil a little bit. I use 5W40 fully synthetic. Right, so the all-important parts pricing. Now what I did here was I phoned a Mercedes-Benz dealer for a couple of key parts, and then I also looked at Goldwagen. And the Goldwagen parts look really good. They all seem to be German. Now keep in mind that these prices are all ex-VAT. So front brake discs, those are about 3.7 from Goldwagen. Those are 16.5 from Mercedes-Benz. Front brake pads, about 1,500 from Goldwagen. Those are about 5.5 from Mercedes-Benz. Rear brake pads, about 880 from Goldwagen. Front shock absorbers, now these are Bilsteins, about 2,100 from Goldwagen, 11,400 Rand each from Mercedes-Benz. Rear shock absorbers, about 2 grand each, and those are about 6 grand from Mercedes-Benz. And then when it comes to tires, you might have to put a set all round. You're looking at about 15K for Michelin's, which is something I had to do because the tires on this car were really old. So that was a little bit painful. But you know, I've been lucky to drive a lot of cars in my career, and genuinely, this is one of my all-time favorites. And because it is probably the last naturally aspirated V8 we'll ever see from Mercedes-Benz, I think it's a really special car, and I do think it is going to appreciate. The thing is, it's such a great all-round driving experience. It's amazing on the open road. It's way better than I expected up a mountain pass. You can absolutely light up the rears like I did in our drag race. Go watch that if you haven't. But it's also just such a great daily. And look, just keep in mind, in the city, it averages about 16 liters to the 100, and on the open road, you'll get about 11. I mean, look, there was always going to be a downside to running a massive V8. Right now, there are just a handful of these on our site. Like I mentioned, there are 18 W204s, and there are only 6 pre-facelifts. I found this very nice one, silver one, with 73,000 Ks on the clock. The dealer is asking for 620 on that, and then I found 2 high milers where they're asking 420 and 450K. I think these things are going to be increasingly snapped up. So if you want one, it's probably time to get moving now. Thanks very much for watching. Happy hunting. I wish you all the best on your shopping experience for one of these cars. And thank you very, very much for using Cars.co.za. Right, see you on the next one. Cheers. Cars.co.za. Not only is Cars.co.za the best place to find your dream car, but it's also the easiest place to sell your current car. Check out the sell car section on our main website. Simply list your car's details and all of our dealers will take bids on your car. You just choose the highest price. Boom, your car's gone. On to your next one. Right, thanks very much for watching the video. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, I'm finished now.